Today's question that we'll discuss is, should I leave my current career for a cybersecurity career? What prompted this discussion that we're having today was I had a phone call from a friend of mine saying, hey, I got a friend who wants to get into cybersecurity. Since you're a cybersecurity SME, I figured it'd be good for her to talk to you. I'm like, hey, fair enough. You know, you think I'm awesome. You know, we'll go with that.
That's right.
So I started just asking her, okay, so you're a teacher. She's a PhD. And I asked her, okay, well, what do you teach? Well, I teach English. I'm like, okay, so you want to go from teaching English at a PhD level and you want to go over to cyber. Got it. Cybersecurity for the purpose of making more money. That was the only driving factor was I just want to make more money.
Okay.
So, so you teacher, English teacher, PhD. Do you understand when you go into a new career, you got to start entry level?
Yes.
Right? Because you're brand new.
Brand new.
You don't know it. You were PhD, you're a doctor, you have prestige, right? Yes. You have credibility, tenure in this sector, but now you're leaving all of that behind. So I had to ask her, like, do you understand what you're asking for, what you're about to do? And I told her, you know, I asked her, hey, well, how much are you making now? She said, I'm making about $75,000 a year. That's not bad. That is really, really good.
Not at all.
Kiddos, $75,000 a year.
Not at all.
But she wants more.
Understood.
And I had to ask her, like, do you understand if you make that change, you're starting entry level, 30, 40, 50,000 if you're lucky, depending on where you're at, what industry you're in, doing IT support, cyber support, but you will be starting entry level. And her response to me was, well, that's disheartening. I was like, well, hey, I just want to tell you the truth. Like, I want you to understand what you're really talking about doing. You're making a really good salary. Yeah. Right? And you're leaving that behind because you think you want to make six figures plus, right? So that was that discussion right there. And I had to hit her with I asked, okay, you have a PhD. How did you get that? Like, what steps did you take? What milestones did you hit? And she said, well, of course, I had to get my bachelor's. And then I said, okay, what else do you need to do? And she said, well, I had to get my master's. And then she stopped me and said, I don't see where you're going with this. I'm like, there's a point. So after you got your master's, you got your PhD. And then I told her, I was like, you missed out one step. You missed out the associates. Well, apparently she's from a different country, and I won't say what country it is. No names to protect the guilty, right? Right. So she said, well, in her country, there's no associates. It's just you graduate high school, go to college, get a bachelor's. And I told her, well, here, you know, in the U.S., you get an associate's, then bachelor's, then master's, then PhD. And she was like, okay, what's your point? Well, my point is, the cyber sector, the career progression is very similar to that progression when you went to get your PhD. Yes. Tier 1, associate's degree, right? Yes. You got to get that associate's level of training, skill set, get some experience, and then now you can upskill to the bachelor level. Yes. Get that experience, then, which is tier 2. So let's just say tier 2 is the bachelor level skill set, right? Then after you cut your teeth, get more experience, become more savvy, then you go to tier 3, which is like a master's level, right? So tier 3, we'll just equate tier 3 to a master's degree. So you understand the level of expertise you need to have at each level. And then from there, you went and got PhD, which is now you're a specialist, right? And that's what that journey will look like. You're going to a new sector. So first you gotta achieve associates, then bachelor, then master, then PhD. Skill set all over again. And then she was like, oh man, that's very disheartening. Like, hey, I just want you to know the truth.
Somewhere along the line, I think, and I'm not really sure where it's been, but there's been some sort of instant gratification when it comes to the cyber field. I don't necessarily want to blame it on movies. I think it might be the oversaturation of certain training, maybe even training companies, maybe even colleges and universities that I see out there that offer certain programs that they might guarantee or promote that you will be this in a certain amount of weeks. And that allure sounds very great, but it negates the fact that you still have to put in the years and you still have to find your niche of what you like within the cyber field.
Yes.
And I think all of that is lost with the amount of money that they pay to someone in the cyber industry.
Touche.
And it just creates this big end goal that is not reasonable, but it's further taken down the road with misguided expectations.
And I think that's what this young lady had.
Yeah.
Misguided expectations.
Yes.
And because as we were talking more, when I told her, hey, this is what you can expect, and her response was, well, I have a friend who did it, and she went to a boot camp, and now she's making over $100,000 a year, and she's working for Facebook. Well, how did she do it? That's a very, inflated question, because I don't know her background. I don't know what experience she had. I don't know anything about this friend.
Yeah, there are many variables for her friend that we would have to consider as to how she reached her achievement of landing that great job, that good paying job, a notable, maybe Fortune 500 company. But you always have people out there that when doubt is creeps into their mind, there always is that instant thought that it goes to the exception to the rule. Yeah. I don't really care what scenario you're going to put out there or subject. There's always the exception to the rule of they got there and it looks like corners were cut, or how we like the Doogie Howser effect, like we discussed.
Yeah.
There is going to be those child prodigies out there that became a doctor at 15 years old. So for argument's sake, sure, there is the exception to the rule, but you cannot apply that in everyday life where you still have to pay the bills and still have to have reasoning when you get from point A to point B.
Yes.
In pivoting from one career to the next, especially, I would have, I guess, taken her down the journey of when she was pursuing her bachelor's, when she got her master's, and so on and so forth. Was it all back to back, or did she have to go the traditional route of putting herself through college, working and going to school, or was it all consecutive and then she went into her practice? I don't know.
Touche. Touche. Yeah, there's a lot of moving parts to this, but it was so. As this conversation continued, right, I just threw out a couple of things like, look, you need to understand that once you get into cybersecurity, right, whatever discipline you get into, it really boils down to what does that even mean? You're securing some type of data, some type of discipline, some type of level. Let's keep it very, very simple, right? At the end of the day, it's about those customers. And
it is.
The data that we're speaking of protecting is customer data. Do you understand that? Well, no, not really. I guess I have to learn that. And I told her, I'm like, do you understand that you're asking to go from an English teacher, PhD level, to dealing with customer data, and you don't even know how to protect that data? And I told her, like, any hiring manager that would consider putting you in that sensitive level of a position, they're an idiot. Because now they're putting you're putting your customers at risk of be becoming victims of identity theft.
Well, I think you said it best a time before when we were talking about this very same subject, that when you come from our background, we have trust issues.
Yeah, man. Yep.
And it goes to hiring managers as well. They have even more trust issues. I am not going to hand you the keys to the kingdom knowing that you don't have very many years, because I have to trust that you know what you're doing.
I have to trust that you know what you're doing.
It's got to satisfy my warm fuzzy, and the companies. You have to look out for the company's best interest. That's why we were hired. That's why we're put in the position of trust. The companies handing that trust to us to ensure that their data is protected.
Of course.
And we have to be good stewards of our own practice.
Yes.
To make sure that we do our due diligence in putting those necessary individuals in those positions to protect that data. And so that's why there are rules in place. That's why there's methods, there's levels, you just have to earn your keep. Yes, there is. And I think everyone just want to cut through everything and just like Tom Cruise said, show me the money.
Show me the money. And that's what she kept saying. Good point. Her whole thing was show me the money. I'm like, okay, but look, this is the things you need to do to earn that money. I didn't get a sense of the willingness to earn. It was just show me the money.
You're absolutely right.
Good point,
man.
The
willingness to learn, yes.
The willingness to learn, man. Like, it's so... When I told her about the sensitive nature of cybersecurity and what's actually at stake, which is the customers falling victim to identity theft, oh man, her response was, as a cyber professional, it just hurt my heart. She was saying, well, that's the company's fault. If they're willing to hire me and something happens, well, that's on the company. I'm like, whoa, here's your first lesson of cybersecurity, right? There's a code of ethics.
Yes.
When you get into cybersecurity, whatever certification you may have, they all have a code of ethics. And I was like, honey child, you're breaking like every single code of ethics with what you just said. That if you get in and you really don't know what you're doing and someone's data leaks and they become a victim of identity theft, that's on the company. I'm like, in my head, I was like, yeah, this cybersecurity is not for you. You stay a teacher. You know, you're a PhD at being a teacher, but I don't want anyone like you dealing with my data. There's no ethics.
Yeah.
There's ethic. Ooh, yeah. There's some missing ethics right there. It's the lack of ethics right there. Wow. No, that threw me off, man. That completely threw me off.
Yeah. The point being though, it doesn't matter from what occupation you're coming from or going to. There's always a learning curve. Always. And you have to do your research. In some professions, that learning curve is either steeper or not as steep. You just have to research it to see what's the best fit for you.
Yes.
And if you're willing to take that journey.
Yes.
Honestly, you got to know what's ahead of you, what the aptitude is to get there. I mean, everyone has different ways of learning and different aptitude levels.
Yes.
She may find out that it might not be for her when she gets started. I don't know. But some people, they're looking for that silver bullet. You know,
everybody wants that silver bullet, man. That's the easiest answer.
Yeah.
Let me get that silver bullet so I can kill these vampires and these werewolves. They don't exist. There's no easy answer. If you truly want a successful career in cybersecurity, be willing to put that work in. There's no way around it. I've seen some of those signs that you said, hey, be a cyber expert in a matter of a few months, 20 months, 30 months. Can you, you know what? I'll offer you this, and I'll offer you this for someone who's looking at, say, a boot camp or something like that, that's promising that you will be a cyber security expert in a matter of, I'll just say 30 months. I just throw an even number, right? Let's flip that. Let's talk medical doctor, right?
Yeah.
Would you be comfortable going to a medical doctor who took a medical boot camp that said go from 0 to medical doctor expert in 30 months? Would you be okay going to a doctor that went through that type of program?
No, simply because we're dealing with our health. It's a trust factor. We're now trusting that we're putting that individual's trust into the whole gamut of, hey, this is my life we're talking about.
Yeah.
And we have to trust that you know what you're doing in 30 months. But
I can't buy that.
But
I cannot buy that.
Society has accepted a doctor's journey.
Yes.
It's not glorified that you can become a doctor in 30 months. It's just not. And so it's a foul to have organizations out there to promote that you can be an expert in the field, in the cyber field, in 30 months.
Yeah.
No, you can be taught things in 30 months, a myriad of things.
Yes.
But to reach expert level, that's a whole different story. I can personally teach individuals a whole slew of things in 30 months. Mm-hmm. It doesn't make you an expert.
No.
It doesn't.
So don't believe the hype, y'all.
Don't believe the hype. No, it's you have to be realistic. At the end of the day, it's a long journey that people they're not willing to accept.
Exactly.
Because they're chasing that easy money. or the thought or the allure of easy money. So you and I, we both did our time. 20 plus years for you, 20 plus years for myself. There's no other way to put it that we're still learning today.
Still learning.
Because the cyber field is ever changing.
Yep.
There's new and emerging technologies every day that we have to stay sharp on.
Yep.
And that's a challenge to in itself. And so I would challenge anybody out there who feels that they can become an expert in 24 months, 30 months. I'd love to sit and talk. And of course, I may come across those exceptions to the rule.
Yeah.
But I'm not much of a gambling man, and I like probability, and the probability says I will probably not run into a child prodigy or the exception to the rule more often than not. And so we're just here to give people realistic expectations when it comes to the money you can earn, how long it'll take to get there, and being patient with the process.
Be patient, mastery,
the
mastery process, right?
Yes.
People want to skip that apprenticeship level because even if you read the book Mastery, it talks about being an apprentice, right? Paying your dues, those 10,000 hours. If you haven't heard us say that before, just put the work in. There's no way around that. It's like you said, man, people just want that silver bullet. It's been glorified that yes, you can be a cybersecurity expert in a matter of months. We just gotta change that narrative, honestly. But that's the answer to the question, right? Those are the things you need to consider. If you're, at a crossroads in your career, and you're like, hey, you know what? I hear those cybersecurity people are making hundreds of thousands of dollars. It is true, but do not discount the hard work, blood, sweat, tears, the learning, the education, the credentialing process that went into that.
Right.
So just don't believe the hype. If cybersecurity is something you want to get into, if the cyber industry as a whole is something you want to get into, be willing to put that work in. Be willing to learn. Be willing to grow.
Oh, 100%. Ask the right questions. Do your research. You should talk to people that have just started out in the industry, right?
Good point.
And all the way to individuals who've been in the industry for years, and then the individuals in between, and find the commonalities. And I guarantee you, the commonalities is going to be you have to put in the work.
Got to put that work in.
You have to stay sharp, be patient. I think that's the common denominator is it doesn't matter. Like even individuals that have been in the game for maybe 2 to 3 years, they will probably tell you their 2 to 3 year journey.
Yep.
It probably wasn't the yellow brick road.
Nope.
They're going to tell you their story. And so I would challenge, again, anyone who wants to get into the industry, just like I said, find a mentor and find individuals at various points in their career and then pick apart the commonalities.
Yes.
Right? Because the approach is probably going to be different from person to person, but you're probably going to pick apart and find some commonalities in their journey.
Yep.
And so take that with a grain of salt and make your own determination. And you shouldn't really chase the money per se. I get you have to do what you have to do to feed your family. I understand that. But if there was easy roads to certain things, I think we would all be chasing those.
Everybody, yeah. Right? If it was easy, everybody would do it, right?
Yes.
and they always say, right? It's a cliche. Anything worth having is worth working hard for.
Yes.
Right. So that includes cyber. That includes cybersecurity. So just wrapping this up. If this is something you truly want to get into, be ready for some hard work. Be ready for some hard work. Be ready for some learning. Be ready for growth. You got this. You can do it. Don't chase those silver bullets. Don't be going chasing waterfalls.
That's right.
Stick to the hard work you used to.
Yes.
So on that note, this can be done. You can make a lot of money. You just have to be willing to put that time in, pay your dues. You got this. And until next time, cheers to your success.